Grand Theft Auto 6 is Netflix exclusive. Hello and welcome to Triangle Square, the PlayStation Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Beck, and alongside me for another episode, riveting, is Mr. Chris Figs. Chris, you know what? Don't let the people know how you're doing today, because I don't think that it's, you know the, hey, how are you? I'm fine.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, you don't tell people how you're really doing. What's wrong with you? This is a society.
Exactly. I won't tell them, but what I will say is I noticed that my back wall is a bunch of Taylor Swift records, and she looks like a haunting.
That is true. You know, Chris, if nothing else, your camera, for people who do watch the episode, can tell us a lot about your state right now, because you are shrouded in darkness.
Yeah. I literally was going to turn the light on, and I was like, I don't want the light on. So
Not today.
I'm illuminated by a Red Sox game, and that's the way it's going to be today.
And that's enough.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Not
winning.
Sponsored. But I would take sponsorship.
We were sponsored by the Red Sox.
I don't think the Red Sox, a business that entirely banks off of being sponsored, will sponsor someone else. But maybe I'm wrong.
It's only a couple bucks. We're only asking for like 50 million.
Come on, dude. $15 a month. Are you really telling me that you, the Red Sox, can't afford $15 a month? Wow, broke much?
You don't like our content featuring Triangle Squared and Bats Want to Suck Your Dick?
That's crazy, bro. Crazy. Well, they don't want to suck your blood at the very least, Chris.
You're telling me Jaron Duran wouldn't benefit from Triangle Squared episode 6,000?
You got to get to it quickly then. All right, guys. If you are new to the podcast, first and foremost, welcome. We are a gaming podcast who talks about the industry through the lens of primarily being PlayStation fans, though we play where we want, when we want, how we want. And every now and then that finds us off of PlayStation, enjoying some other stuff. So without further ado, we are going to start. We're going to have an episode that talks about the Marvel Wolverine announcements that happened today. Fortnite is getting another new crossover that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Netflix is getting some exclusive Grand Theft Auto, and PlayStation continues to have some flack for their physical stuff that we were talking about with the new version of what people are upset about. So before we do that, we always start the show off, and what I think is probably my favorite part of the show, where we just talk about what the hell we've been playing as much as we can. Chris, in talking to you, I know that you've not gotten to play quite as much as you have wanted to. But earlier today, we were talking a little bit about one thing you've been playing kind of off and on across the last 2 weeks. And it's something I've not dipped my toes into at all yet. And I'd like to get kind of a breakdown of how you're feeling about it. We haven't talked much about Halo being on PlayStation outside of people know that you've played it. I'm assuming you're a good chunk further into it. Have you beaten it yet?
Yeah, we beat it yesterday. Well,
you're just doing...
The game doesn't count it as being beaten because I haven't played through the fan fiction yet. But I finished the actual game that should have shipped.
You finished the OG campaign.
Yeah, I finished the good part of Halo, and now I'm playing the dog shit.
You finished campaign, you haven't finished Evolved.
Yeah, well, someone should have made it whole than Everstone. That is such a deep cut joke.
Oh boy. All right, man. Yeah. So you were saying earlier that, of course, this is something that I think is worth noting. You and I both play on Pro, which usually means for games that are kind of known for having problems. Pro definitely, once the PSSR2 update hit for a lot of things, kind of is like the best place to play on console. I mean, you're going to get a pretty stable game, usually at a really nice frame rate and a nice resolution, at least effective resolution. So what's going on here? Because I was ironically looking at this game after I had gotten the platinum for one of the games I'll talk about a little bit more, but I chose not to because I was like, going from shooter to shooter, I'd rather have a break. And then there's a sweet irony of what happened there anyway. But all that said, I was actually pretty excited to jump into it because a lot of the changes that they made around the main campaign, like kind of expanding out the library, looks awesome to me because I love OG Halo 1, but there's some times where you can tell that game was made effectively in 9 months. The version that was shipped was made in 9 months. Whether it was in development for longer than that does not matter. This is a real Final Fantasy 15 situation. You announce a game and show a bunch of shit on it, and then 9 months before release, you go, fuck. Well, we've got to make something that we can actually ship. And with that being said, the fact that Halo is iconic as it is, and definitely once was, is impressive. So what's happening here? What are you thinking about it?
I'm like mixed on it because I had a good time playing it. But like for the little bit of context, I played the whole thing with Joe from Trophy Room and Kev. He works at IG. I don't know if he's done other podcasting stuff. I think he's been on Triangle Square or Trophy Room. So I played through the whole game with them on Heroic, and it was fun. But I think like one of the things I've noticed is like there's trophies for like beating a remixed campaign without dying, which first of all is annoying as fuck. I've done this. I don't want to do it again. Not play through the campaign. Like I talked about it when I was doing Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, like how obnoxious that trophy was even on Recruit. The point I'm trying to make is that like I was playing and I got up to I think Truth and Reconciliation, which is the 3rd level today, and I just wasn't having as much fun. Like I don't know if it's Halo or if it's like the type of shooter that I'm not super into, but like I don't know, what I noticed about it was like I was into like the cutscenes and the story and stuff like that, but like sometimes like actively playing it was just boring me. I don't even know if that's necessarily like a hit on the game. I think I've just drifted from go to box, kill 6 enemy, go to other box, kill other enemy, cutscene happens, kill other enemies. Like I know that like I'm being reductive. That's like half of what all games are. Yeah. But I think the biggest problem with Halo, let me rephrase. I think the biggest problem with the Bungie Halos is that Halo 1 is the worst one. So
agreed. Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, don't wrong. I like Combat Evolved, but 2 is better. 3 is a better game. 3 has its own problems, and a lot of those problems are built off the expectation of what you expected gaming to be at that time. But I think it's hard to say that 3 is not a better game than 1. It just is.
It is, absolutely. ODST is a better game.
ODST is incredible.
Arguably the best one.
If we're talking Bungie-made games, I actually think that ODST is my favorite. I won't say it's the best. I don't even want to have that argument, but I will say comfortably, ODST is my favorite, and Reach is really good as well.
I love Reach.
I'm going to have a deeper cut and probably piss a lot of people off here. I think Halo 4 might be my favorite Halo in general, and that's a wild statement, but I really liked Halo 4.
Is that a Bungie or a 343?
No, that is 343, and I remember playing 4 and being like, oh man, okay, cool. They're kind of taking a big swing with the multiplayer, but I'm digging it. It's cool to have something a little different. The campaign is awesome. It was a killer looking game at the time, in my opinion. It ran super smooth on Xbox. It was one of the few times where 360 had an exclusive that didn't eventually make it to PlayStation, for sure, that I was like, damn, this is a killer game. And it was just funny to see how 343 did not hold that quality, in my opinion. No. Even if I don't think that Infinite is that bad, I think Infinite's a perfectly fine game in terms of the campaign. Did you play and beat the campaign, or did you primarily focus on multiplayer with us?
I think I know you played multiplayer.
You played a hell of a lot of multiplayer with me, to be fair. But I didn't remember you talking about the campaign, which has its own problems.
Well, I think the funny part about the 343 era is that their games kind of follow the exact same arc as he does in the game, which is like, oh, cool, this might be pretty good. Oh, no. Oh, my God. What are you doing?
Poor 343. And I guess depending on the results of this conversation, maybe poor Halo Studios.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I just don't. I think it's weird because you put out, it's a good game. Halo's good. But it's just less fun than the other ones. You know, it just is. I don't know how to, articulate it much better than that. Like there's even yesterday, right? Like we wrapped on Halo 1 and Joe and Kev hopped off and I played through the first level of Halo 2 on my computer. I was like, this is fucking sick. Like, just like first off, Halo 2 has at least I don't know what it's called in MCC, but the remake or remaster.
It's Halo 2 Anniversary,
Sure,
which is a much better anniversary remaster than Halo 1 Anniversary.
I just think that I just don't think this game runs very well. Halo CE.
Unreal
the
was
new CE.
Campaign evolved. Unreal was always a bold choice because of that. Unreal's not been a bad engine. It's actually been pretty performant. Like, I'd say that most games that are on Unreal do have at least normally a decent 60 frames per second in terms of being able to hit the frame pace. Now, whether they look good while doing it is a separate question. But I think most games can hit 60 frames per second on Unreal 5 without much of an issue. So are you saying like this game has hitches and like
no,
stuff like that going on?
It was just
frame
chugging.
drops?
It was just chugging. Again, like I played most of this in
solo or specifically multiplayer, because that is a curiosity. Yeah.
And that's why, like, I think I was saying to Jehudi, it's like he was also playing in multiplayer and he didn't have that many issues. So like me and Joe were wondering if like it's entirely Kev's fault that we were fucking up. Not that he didn't do anything wrong, but like he's in Arizona, I believe, something like that. So, and then Joe and I are on the East Coast. So it's like, is that the reason that it's chugging? But there were a couple times where it was
pulling
Fallout
3
level.
and having to keep up with what 3 games are doing in terms of physics, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. But it wasn't, I don't even know if it was necessarily a physics thing, because it would happen like if you're playing the mission Keys, right? Like if anyone, if you know that mission, there's that section right at the beginning where you can basically run through all the enemies until you have to go up the grav lift. And we were doing that because there's a skull that you grab and it's timed or whatever. And there were moments where like we would die because it was hitching so bad that you couldn't see where you were going.
That's bad. Yeah.
I get not see where you're going is weird, but it would be like you're going through, and again, we're playing this on heroic, so that is also a factor. But it's like you're going through, and then it like kind of stops, and then all of a sudden there's like a brute in front of you who just one taps you in the head, you know. So
yeah.
it was frustrating to like have to deal with that. And I don't know how prevalent that is. I don't know if it's just the way that we were playing, or if it's because we were 3 instead of 2, or it's because all 3 of us are Hispanic. I don't know the reasons that the game was choosing not to work.
Are you telling me that Halo Studios' first game ever released has racial bias?
I would never say it's the most right-wing video game we have in the world. It's like objectively true too, which is crazy. Sorry, they get that one.
Boy.
But I think in terms of like the performance, that's what it is. It just was chugging. It was running bad in sections. Most of the time we were fine, but then it would be like, oh, we're fighting a lot of guys and this isn't working. But then we'd get through and it was fine. Like again, we beat the whole game. Like yesterday we did the first whatever fanfic mission that they have in there. And it's funny because if you play through the game all the way through, it's like the most perfect example of why I have a problem with Isaac talking in the Dead Space remake. You see it immediately because, and I understand why they do it because, and I said it even yesterday where I'm like, you know, he's talking more to Johnson. I guess spoilers for Halo in general, not this specific game, but like Johnson is also a Spartan. So like to me, like I was sitting there and Chief doesn't shut the fuck up. He doesn't stop talking. And there's an argument of like, okay, well, he kind of sees Johnson as an equal. That's how I take it, right? He's chatting with Johnson because he sees him as an equal. But then, you know, in Halo 1 right at the beginning when that soldier goes like, are we going to die? And he kind of taps the guy's head and goes, we'll be fine. You know, it's like he's not on the same level as that guy. So he doesn't talk to him with the same kind of reverence, I guess is maybe the word for it. But
yeah.
This is why I said it with Dead Space, and it's especially prevalent here. Master Chief is so fucking cool because he doesn't say anything. And when he does, it's sick every time. But if he's saying cool shit the whole game, right? Like when you wake up, and I'm talking about Halo 2, but like I don't remember lines from Halo 1, but like one of the better Master Chief lines is like in Halo 2, he wakes up and stuff starts happening and he just looks at someone and goes, I need a weapon. Well, that's just badass. But then when him and fucking Johnson are talking about the weather while I'm trying to kill a bunch of fucking religious priests or whatever the hell they are in that thing. I'm not being facetious. I'm pretty positive that's what they are. So you're killing a cult of things. It makes Master Chief less cool. It makes it less interesting.
I think that the problem in general, because like, look, as much as I understand where you're coming at from with Isaac, the fact that in way more, like basically because of how Dead Space is as a series, there's 4 games total that feature Isaac, and in 3 of the 4 games he talks. I think at some point you just have to go, they stopped caring about that. The thing about Halo suddenly having that is we have like 4 games of hold on, we have like 4 games of Master Chief not really talking a whole lot. Yeah. And I think every game he talks a little bit more, which is not a big problem, but there is a thing where it's like, I've been feeling that for a while, where even though I don't hate the game, it's just like, even though I actually like Forspoken, half of the problem of games like Forspoken and a lot of modern games is this thing where for some reason there's this thought that like your character has to constantly be saying shit. And I don't understand it. And I'm not saying, again, I haven't experienced Halo, but I'm wondering if that's kind of at play here too, where it's like designers just feel a need, definitely when they're not following a blueprint like they are for these new missions, to just be like, it's weird that these people are just going through this level and not talking. Maybe it's not.
But
maybe it's not.
But I think that's part of it. Part of Halo, I think, like Halo is a comedy.
Master Chief's clearly meant to be a badass. Isaac's meant to be like an everyman. So I think
that's not even that's not even what matters to me here. Is it's like a lot of the bullshit conversations that you're talking about is so much better in Halo, the original way it was, because those conversations are taking place between the grunts, and that's funny.
Oh yeah.
You know, and like when they're, when Chief and him are just like yapping, it's like, oh, this is not, it's not funny, it's not particularly interesting, and you're talking over the war, or like oh my god, he's coming, let David run. You're missing all of that because Johnson is talking about his giant fucking sniper rifle. It's like, bro, I don't care. But I think like part of, again, it sounds pretentious, but I think in a lot of ways, like a lot of storytelling stuff like works. Johnson is cool because he's a kind of a mythical figure, in my opinion. And the same with Chief, but like Johnson has that mythicality too. Like, how the fuck did he get out of there? Like, how is he here? How is he? The answer is because he's a Spartan. But the reality is like, all of them are more interesting because they're not yapping and because stuff is happening around the edges. And I think that it just makes it worse to hear him yapping, which is the same reason why I don't like it in Dead Space, because the Dead Space remake is not a remake of Dead Space. It's a reboot, and that's fine, but it's not a fucking remake. I'm not going to have the argument with you. It's not a remake if he talks more.
It's not called Dead Space Remake, so no argument.
Well, whatever. I think that, like I said, I think you should play Halo. I just think the problem is that when part of this game, and like even with the new stuff, it's like you're changing the original game and you're also changing the original story by making fan fiction. Whether the fan fiction is 3 lines or 3 missions, it's fan fiction and it is no longer Halo 1. And arguably what they do in these missions is make the rest of Halo worse. I'm not going to spoil any of that, but that is also an issue. So it's like, I think it's cute, I think it's cute and fun and cool. And I think the only reason they could justify the price was because they put these missions in. And that's why these missions are here. The funny
thing about being the steward of an IP is that technically anything that you do is not fan fiction, as unfortunate as that may be. As
Sadly,
much as
when you're not Bungie, it's
it,
fan fiction.
Oh, it maybe should be that way, but what Microsoft will say is it's our IP for us to do what we want to with. And whether or not I agree with that statement, the reality is that this is canon to the Halo world now, which people have had the same argument with some of the changes that
how about this? If you're going to be the steward of a property, your writing for that property should be better than something I could read on fucking Wattpad.
Fair enough, Chris. We got a game we played a little bit together. I'm going to quickly throw out I platinum Saros, and Saros fucking rips. It's one of the best games that's come out this year, and I can't believe I had like a really, really low passing interest in the game. And once I started playing it, man, it's a game I cannot recommend enough. For all the crap we were just talking back and forth about stuff, what we tend to say like gameplay is most important, and man, Saros gameplay is so good. The story is very vague on purpose. You can make a lot of assumptions as to what you think is happening, but the reality is it's just there to be a light motivator and a mood setter, and to basically be there to tell you why the way the game setting is, and kind of the loop for the mechanics they wanted to include are there. And it works. I know that you had mentioned that Kevin didn't care about the story aspect of it, and I'd be curious to know about why. But man, gameplay is incredible. So it's a game that I'm very much looking forward to you getting around to, because me and you have both on this show and in person, like in private, had conversations about Returnal and our problems and qualms with it. Never would call it a bad game. I just think that what it was trying to do and what I like out of that type of game didn't hit. But Saros fixes literally every bit of that. And it's so fun. It's so well made. It's, man, it feels like playing a more serious take on Enter the Gungeon. That sounds like a weird way to describe it, but from a gameplay standpoint, it's like you put Into the Gungeon into 3D and pulled the camera behind your back and just have really solid shooting and bullet hell moments, and it's fucking awesome.
Nice.
So one of these days you'll get there. But in talking about characters who talk a lot in games, I want to make my way to this. I'm going to quickly mention that after I played Saros, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to play next. And you happened to had already bought Silent Hill F, and I had a passing interest in seeing what it was about. So I downloaded it, and I've played about 3 hours of it. I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's interesting to me, at least with where I'm at right now, that I've seen people say it's a good game, but it's not a good Silent Hill game. I think it does so many things that are clearly trying to pull from Silent Hill, but there is also the weird choice of making it a stamina-based melee game, which is an interesting choice. I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just interesting. But ironically, I got pulled off of it because I was showing my brother the Metal Gear Solid Volume 2 collection, and we were talking about how he's never played 4. And so it was like, hey, he loves Metal Gear Solid 2. That's like his game, is his go-to game.
Smart guy.
Yeah, so he'd never played 4, but just in talking back and forth, it was like, let's play through Metal Gear Solid, which has been super fun. And Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 have got a lot of dialogue, but in an interesting way, it stands in a different way to what you're talking about with a game like Halo, where I actually feel like Snake, he doesn't talk a lot, but when he talks a lot. Like the game chooses to have multiple characters be pretty verbose at moments. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I think it does really well is, despite having people talk and having longer cutscenes, every cutscene ends with a new mystery that you are actively like, I want to figure out what was either overtly pointed to. And of course, I know the answer, but I can still appreciate the way they're setting it up. Where it's like, oh, okay, by the time this ends, there's a new mystery that I want to pull myself toward because I'm trying to understand what's happening. And all these characters still keep an air of mystery and mythicality, like you're talking about, to them. Not only because they are crazy characters. I mean, Vamp and shit like that are just kind of going to be crazy characters. But even the way they're written and the way they talk about it is just one of those things where you're constantly like, wait, what is happening? What is going to happen next? And I haven't played either of these games in so long, dude. So beating Metal Gear Solid 1 and realizing that it's much more of a boss rush game than my brain would have thought. Like, I remember messaging you and I thought to myself, in my memory, I only remembered the boss fights realistically from the game. And of course the opening. And you think I was like 12 last time I played this game, so I'm probably just remembering the highlights. And then I go to replay the game and I'm like, oh no, that's like 90% of the game.
The game is the highlights. Yeah.
The game is the highlights. And it's been interesting because going back into Metal Gear Solid 2, it's kind of similar where it's different than Metal Gear Solid 1, But in terms of the way I remember it, I remember the hit moments of Metal Gear Solid 1 more off, or Metal Gear Solid 2, but there's a lot more meat between the hit moments in Metal Gear Solid 2. It's actually kind of an insane sequel. And being able to see it in this capacity, going back to back and having, this is my first time playing Metal Gear Solid 2 since I was like 13 or 14. And I've owned the HD collection on Vita since the day it came out. And I've just never gotten around to playing it. Because it was more like I want the ability to. But I don't know, would you agree with that? You've played through Metal Gear Solid recently, and I feel like they talk a lot, but they still ride this line of making sure that they don't betray what the narrative is trying to aim toward or the type of character you're trying to portray per character.
I mean, I think you're right. I think the thing with Metal Gear is like the characters talk a lot when they're meant to, and what they're saying is important, you know? And that's what I think is cool. It's like Snake will be quiet for a while, and then he'll be like, by the way, these are all the Cuban civil rights violations, and this is why we have to take them down. And by the way, Fidel Castro sucks. And by the way, have you ever seen Godzilla? Because Godzilla's really sick. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they'll just like yap forever. But like it all kind of comes back together, which I really like. So yeah, it's funny because I did just play through them, and I'm like, you do them again right before Metal Gear Solid 4 comes out in 2 weeks.
It's crazy how much of a motivator that is, because like I'm over here like itching to play Metal Gear Solid 4 at 60 frames per second and 4K finally. Like that, dude, like I have had so many moments where I've almost started playing the PS3 version, and as much as I love the game and I think it's incredible, definitely for the time, there are times where that game runs at like 20 frames per second if we're just being real.
Yeah.
So playing a game with seemingly a steady frame rate that is much faster is awesome. Speaking of frame rate, dude, it's equally impressive, but also has been a little weird. Metal Gear Solid 2 HD, specifically on Vita, runs at 60 frames per second when you're indoors, but anytime you go out to where there's an environment outside, like, you know what the game is, like when you go out to like the catwalks and the stuff around the oil shell, all of that's in 30 frames per second. And it pretty much holds both frame rates really well, even without me overclocking. But it was just, the first time it happened, I was like, what the fuck? Because like they start you outside on the tanker, you know, and it's in 30 frames per second. And then I walk, and I was like, okay, cool. No, whatever. No surprise. It works fine for me. And then I walk inside. I'm like, whoa, what happened here? And that's been weird. I've gotten very used to it. I don't even register it anymore.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting concession to make. Apparently, Metal Gear Solid 3 is exclusively 30 frames per second. They couldn't get it to 60 on Vita at all.
Well, no, I mean, it's entirely outside. Like, I don't know how you would.
Yeah. It's like, I guess I get it. When you can really control what you have to draw in, you can be like, fuck it, let's boost it up. And then whenever there's going to be distant things being rendered, you try to scale it back. But it's so good. I'm happy to be replaying them finally, because often when I talk to people about it, it's like I'm really working almost entirely off memory, because the last Metal Gear Solid game I had played prior to playing Metal Gear Solid 1 was I beat Ground Zeroes. So it's like 2014. And I didn't care for Ground Zeroes. I thought it was I didn't care for the changes. And so it made me not want to play 5. So I didn't play 5. I watched Saul play some of 5. I'm debating trying it again after 4. But 4 is most important right now. 4 is most important.
5, especially having played them all, like 5 is a fantastic game and probably should be called like Ghost Recon Wildlands 2.
Yeah, I haven't played it, so I don't want to speak like that. I know that the little bit of story revelation that they do pack in there is actually pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I'll give them that, but the way they go about storytelling is also so different. But you know, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about how ways in which you could do things with games in interesting ways to make them cheaper. I want to really brag on how smart storytelling through the codec actually is in terms of trying to keep a game budget in check.
Yeah.
There's a charm to it. It oozes like style, because it is like it's an iconic thing, first of all. The little sound, the hit select, the pull up and screen, and being able, dude, even just the smart thing of just having it to where you have to remember codecs and move through them and you can call them at your own will is amazing. It's so cool. And you can get extra story that way too. And I know that very few games would really do that these days, but it's kind of a smart way to keep presentation in a way that fits in the world while cutting down the amount of work you have to do. And then for big moments, they pull that out, right? You go back into the world. You don't do everything through codec, but you can kind of cut down on what you have to fully render and animate by giving certain parts through there. I don't know. It's pretty cool replaying through all these. I am very curious. Right now, I'm still loving 1 and 2, and I'm sure I'll love 3. I'm very curious if 4 will live as big in my heart after playing it again, or if playing it again will actually do damage. Because it's possible. Sometimes playing a game again ruins it. Like, ruins is strong, but it makes you see it for what it really is.
It's weird because, like, part of me thinks, like, I don't even know if part of me, like, most of me thinks that, like, it was my favorite gameplay one, and story definitely. Like, there was stuff that happens there that I was like, oh, this is great. I'm glad to see this character again. No spoilers. But I you know, so that stuff was cool. There was a lot of, like, that's what made it really rewarding to, like, kind of play them all in a row for the most part, was like, you got to see these characters. You're like, oh, this character would never come back. She's just here for Kojima to be creepy, and then stuff happens later. So I like that aspect. Oh my god, I like that aspect a lot. I like 4. I wish I'd finished it on PS3, but at the same time, like, this being announced gave me the perfect excuse to be like, I'm not going back. I'll wait a couple months.
Yeah. I would honestly say waiting to play the better version makes more sense.
Yeah, it does. The only part of me, and, like, I just don't care as much anymore, which is growth in my opinion. Like, I think getting the platinum in the PS3 version of MGS4 would be fucking sick.
That would be so cool, yeah.
But I just don't care.
Yeah, you know, there's little things that I actually do think build towards the type of game that 4 is and what was going on in the industry at the time that I don't see how they do. There's so many little nods and things that they do. Well, you probably saw it. You know, the install part of the game where it's just it's just Snake sitting there smoking a cigarette as the game's, like, installing, and it's just giving you little information. That's so charming to me, and that's going to be gone here because you don't need to install it, which is a bit of a bummer.
They should put that should be like the menu screen, is the loading. But instead of it saying loading, it just says press start, and it's just going as Snake smokes.
And it says him. That would be awesome. I would love for them to find a way to pull that into the game, even if it's just like a bonus menu. Like, you can go click into it and see it, because it'd be like remastering Grand Theft Auto 4 and taking out all the TV show skits and commercials and radio banter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which the radio banter is the best part. I love, like, I'll throw on, like, L chat or whatever, and I'm like, this is all I got to listen to.
Like, dude, even for the fact that I kind of fell off of Grand Theft Auto from the rest of it, I always thought the way that they kind of built their world out with the crazy commercials and shit was just so good. Speaking of which, that's actually something Metal Gear Solid 4 does really well too.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
That's honestly, like, not to skip ahead, but one of the things I'm most excited about GTA 6 for is, like, just idling in a car and listening to the chatterbox or whatever they're going to call it in this one. I love those stations.
It's going to be weird to see how they pull that off, because this game is seemingly set in modern time, but we don't really use radio stations quite the same way. So I wonder how they're going to approach it.
You want to know how, which is actually very funny?
Podcasts?
No. Well, yes, but they'll have the commercials because Lucia and Jason just don't pay for Spotify. Like, that's a good way to do it. Like, I'd be down for that.
That's true. That's true.
And then it'll be like a microtransaction every month. That's like $9.99, and you get in-game Spotify ad free.
Dude, don't even get me started on ways they could monetize that game. How crazy would it be, like, if you don't want ads in your in-game radio play, you can pay us.
Dude, I'm going to be abundant. I'm just going to say this. Maybe this is a hot take. I'm not defending microtransactions. If you want to pay for it, if you want that, they should charge you, and they should charge you an exorbitant amount of money. That is the best writing in those games. And if you want to skip the radios, you're a fucking idiot, and you can pay the $150 they're going to charge you for it. It's the
I
best
also think
part.
there's
Those
something
things
to
are
be
funny.
said about, say what you will about microtransactions, but if people want it and there's a market for it, why not offer it, even if it's stupid?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my thing. It's like
It's a
like
mixed
the
bag.
horse armor. It's like the horse armor sucks, but people bought it. Like,
Yeah. Well, I could talk about Metal Gear Solid forever. And I guess I'll go ahead and throw out there. We have a question that I'm going to put in at the end of here, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get into that, Chris, you, I think you, Sean, and Ben did a little stint in Big Walk, right?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would have loved to have done that, and I would have done that instead of Palworld, but that day fell apart from the beginning of the day when I had a bunch of work to do, and roof started leaking and a bunch of shit on the house next door, to then trying to make Digimon happen. And I messaged you about it. It was stupid, but I've seen people talk about the game. Somebody called it friend slop, which I think is a funny. Everything being slop now is just what a world
Cringy.
we live in. But how like it? How would you describe the game?
It's, if we're going to use that term, I think it's elevated friend slop.
Okay.
As in, it's fucking sick, but it has every trope of friend slop that people are talking about. And the thing is, like, it like is like on its face, but then like you play it and you're like, oh, this is like, you would love this game. I don't know if you would love every mechanic about the game, but you would love the game. And because of just how puzzle heavy it is and how like weird some of the puzzles are. And there was one puzzle that me and Sean and I did the other day that like I was viscerally uncomfortable doing the entire time we were doing the puzzle. So
Okay.
basically, the whole premise of the game is that you're walking around this area and you're trying to find, like, I don't know what they're actually called, but we just called them baubles. They're like red little, they look kind of like, what are the eggs? Do you know what I'm talking about? Not the Fabergé eggs, but like the Russian nesting dolls.
Oh, nesting dolls?
They look kind of like those. So you do the puzzles in these areas and you deposit them at the Russian nesting doll's house, I guess. I don't know what they call them. So we were doing one of these puzzles, and the way that you had to release the bauble was that I had to put on this helmet that completely obscured my vision, and Sean had to run around the outside and direct me through the glass. And it was really cool and it was really satisfying to get it right. But like, I'm sitting there like watching, and like, this is not like, oh, the screen goes dark or like you have little eye holes and you can't see. No, it's entirely blurred. Like, you can see nothing. You can make out like colors. So like there were a couple platforms that I was able to like navigate because I could kind of see where green turned into yellow and I was on the yellow one. But by the time we got late at the end of the puzzle, I couldn't see shit. I didn't know where I was doing what I was doing. So like it entirely depended on Sean being like, all right, go left, press a little bit, less than that. Now you have to go right slightly. Now you have to go to the left. Okay, go straight. No, stop. You're tilting. You got to go to the right a millimeter or you're going to fall off this ladder. And then there was one point where I had to do 4 or 5 running jumps at different levels of speed to get across to the bauble.
Wow.
So it was one of these things where like when we did it, and I'll give us some credit. It only took us one try. But when we did it, I ended it feeling so good about myself. But like, it was in there, and it was one of those things like, do you know like when you're doing something and like you're just anxious for the end of it? You know, and you can kind of feel like yourself getting anxious, and like there's no reason that you're getting anxious. I was getting this feeling today when I was looking at how much pizza dough I had left to roll up and how much I'd done already. You know, I was getting that like, it's making me a little uncomfortable that I have this much left. You know, and I had that same feeling playing that puzzle, and that's the best compliment I can give that game, is I've never felt that way playing a video game before. Where I literally said to Sean, I was like, I'm never doing that again. I was like, I can't do that again. You're doing the next one. Like,
which is so funny
nuts.
because that feels like Sean's like space to be. Knowing Sean, him getting to like micromanage, direct you is so funny. Like there's not a better role for him to have been given.
No, it wasn't.
It's so good. And actually welcome in the game.
Yeah. It was incredibly important.
We love you, Sean. That's said with love.
You're a leader. Sometimes you don't need to lead, but you're a leader. It's really fun. I don't know. I think there's things about the game that these guys are less willing to engage with that kind of frustrate me. And that's fine. But I think like kind of the way we're playing it is like kind of anti what the game wants you to do. And I don't like that very much. Like everything that Sean and them didn't want to participate in, which was we played it in party chat. But that's not the point. It's a prox game. Like Sean and I are supposed to go together and it's Sean and I doing a puzzle. And Ben, like let's say Ben and you are fucked off across the map. You guys can only hear each other. And that's why there's stuff built into this game where it's like you can get a laser pointer that just you fucking kill every pilot in the world if you had this thing. But like so you can go and Ben can be like across the map and like shine the laser pointer and we're like, okay, we know where we're going. There's these things at like all the bauble stations where you can press it and a flare flies up and explodes and that tells you where you are. There's little like if you guys are at radios, so like we can two-way radio across. And these guys, they were just not willing to do it. Well, actually, I'll give Ben credit. Ben was willing to do it. Sean was like, no, I'm not playing that way. And I was like, but that's the game.
Yeah.
That's the point. Like, it's not, I don't know. The only problem that I do have with that system is that it was very quick to be like, you can't hear your friends. It was very quick to get to that point.
Like you didn't have to be very far at all before proximity just cut entirely.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of these things where it was kind of like
a good fade off.
Yeah, it was like you're walking away, right? So it'd be like me talking regular, and then I'm talking like that, and gone. You can't hear me anymore. That's what it sounded like, and it was literally to the point where like I could throw something at him and hit him with it. So I'll give him some bit of credit. That's a little not great.
It's too much, yeah.
And I wonder, I think part of it is like, it might have been more interesting if like, let's say you were there that night. Might have been more interesting if like you went off with Ben and me and Sean went off. So then like, at least people are having conversations differently. I do think it's a little weird to like abandon one of your boys to solitude just to 100% like, play the game the way it's supposed to be played. But it's like I said to Sean, I'm like, we just need to be together. Like this isn't really that much of a fucking, this is that hard to like get past is just sticking together. But yeah, I've liked the game a lot. I really recommend it.
That's cool. I guess I need to download it and see if
I think you need to play it.
Out of time.
You would like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. Yeah, we played some Palworld too. I continue to really like Palworld, and I continue to really dislike the fact that I cannot play Palworld without you being on, at least on the character that I'm already working on. I can't make them change that choice. I just wish they wouldn't have made it that way. I think it was ultimately a worse way to make the game, and that's okay.
I mean, I think I disagree with that it's worse. I just think it's confusing because the game seems to want you to have didn't work. The game seems to want you to have like multiple plays and worlds. Yeah. And it doesn't allow for that. Like I'll tell you straight up, like we're level like 24 in our world.
Something like that.
I'm level 65. Like I kind of don't want to play with you. not in that way. I don't mean that in like
but I get
negative way. But like I'm so far ahead.
You're going to have to play. And see, this is why I don't get it. I think that this problem would be completely solved if, and I'm not saying they should have done this because progression still matters, but I think the items work as progression by making this game have a legit level system where you need stats in order to be able to do things in a reasonable way, like carry stuff, have the stamina you need to run around certain boss encounters and stuff like that. They make it to where you can't just easily go into your friend's world. But then the problem with that is the story and the way that you're supposed to play the game and progress through the game realistically kind of shoehorns you to a rigid series of events. So for me to play with you, I'm going to, at least to a decent degree, have to replay through content that I have already played to play with you. So let's call that time 2. But then say my buddy Ryan wants me to play. I'm going to have to go and log into his world. And if we either both start together and have to play that content again, meet for a third time, or I have to join his world, make a new character, and then try to rush to level up, which doesn't really work either. The game is not really level. It's not lined out that way, because you had me join your world and we thought maybe I'll just gain levels really quick. No, you don't. The game still wants you to do all the stuff, which I feel like is the game getting into its own way, because it's not allowing that. You've played much more of it than me at this point.
That's not true. If you'd been more, not, I don't mean to like blame it on you, but if you'd been more willing to stick it out, you would have leveled up to like 40, because that's what happens with everything else. Like, that's how the game works. That's the point, right? The point is that you'll come in, and because it's like every other game, it takes more XP to level up. You would have, doing just the activities I've been doing, you would have been level 50 like in like 20 minutes.
Maybe
not maybe you
that
would have
makes
been. But
I'm glad you seem to know that. That's not a hit. I'm saying, like, it wasn't evident to me when we were playing together, because I went and did small things.
We never left the base.
No, I went like punch trees and stuff, and nothing ever happened. I was getting the same amount of XP that I was getting when doing it in our world. So
yeah,
that's part of why I was like, I don't want to.
I'm saying that. Like, we would have had to go to like one of the level islands and fought I would have had to wipe out a bunch of mons, and then you would have been up, because we could have gone to like the level 60 area and then wiped a bunch out, and we would have been fine. But I do agree, and I think, ironically though, I actually disagree with you in a way. I think the biggest problem is the item progression, because levels in Palworld don't fucking matter. The levels in Palworld are gates to the items, and they matter to a degree, but like everything that you're kind of not you in general, but like you're kind of concerned with in that game is handled by armor or what's the word, like different like boots and like I'm saying yes, that's the better way to say it, passives. So when you go do, like I was telling you, like there's a bunch of ways to mitigate temperature and this kind of stuff, and eating, right? Those were two of our biggest problems, right, when we first started the game. And now in my world, I have an undershirt that basically makes me immune to weather. And then I have a bag in my thing that I can just put berries in. And I've never had to worry about being hungry in my last like 10 hours of the game. So to me, like my biggest thing would be like going into your world knowing like, oh, not your, like the world we're playing together, right? Not my main single player world, is like knowing like, oh, okay, so like the ingots are going to take longer, and we can't even make pal steel. Like we can't even do kind of this stuff. And that's like, that's stuff that I had to do on my own to even like beat the third boss. Yeah. So I do think that
still leads me to my concern though, and I shouldn't say it's a problem. Again, I understand it's my preference. I don't like, most games are made for you to just replay and replay and replay and replay kind of endlessly. And I don't think the problem I think I have is, I don't even mean this as a huge hit. This is true of most games, but the content in Palworld for the early game that I have already experienced is really not that compelling. But it's compelling enough when you don't know about it. So even though the revelations are small and really kind of don't matter, and they don't really have a big impact on the world in any real way, going through them the first time works, because you do get small moments of, well, this is something new. This is something new. I got this level, so I got this item. But the next time through, all of that is gone for me, and I don't have that fun. But let's say that I joined your world and I got to level 40 that night, and then you keep playing and you get to level 70. Next time I go to play with you, we still have to stop, take time to get me like geared up enough to survive. And then we have to go find a way for you to, for however long it takes, 30 minutes, call it, for us to grind out some shit for me to get to your level. And then for as long as I can continue playing with you consistently, that works. But then if you want to play without me and you keep playing and I can't play without you on that character, we start that process over again. 3 weeks goes by, or maybe a week where you play a lot, we have to do it again. I just don't think it's very conducive, again, for me to actually want to make the progress in the game, because I feel like at some point, if I want to enjoy playing that game with someone, I have to go all the way over again. Which is why I think when we were playing, I thought it was just, it was interesting to me because they have Terraria items in the game. And so they did a crossover with Terraria. And there's just an irony in that I think Terraria handles this problem much better, because you can have your world that you've been affecting and you go through, but then you can take your character and push it into your opponent, your friend's world, and continue on with the gear that you had. But I am talking a lot about something I haven't actually experienced. So
it was the point that I was even making when I brought it up of like, we could just switch to my world. Because when we were having that conversation, I was like 30 levels lower. So it wouldn't have been that big a difference. Yeah, something around there. So to me in that situation, it would have been like, we're not that far off. And like, so you're not missing a ton of content. Because I was still on the same boss that we're on now in our world. So, which that's a problem I have with the game. But so I don't know. I mean, I guess it's perspective. I don't think that it's this big deal, because I see what they're going for. They're going for Brett is joining this world and he's got his own thing, and I can go help him, or I can sell you a bunch of pals at ridiculous prices because you can't do anything right now. You know, I can do all of those things. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to like super fight you on it. I just think I understand why the game is the way it is. Whether it's a good choice or not is a different thing. Yeah, I don't know. I think it just
good. Bothers you less, even if I'm slightly mistaken on some of my points. I think some of my points are, and I can already tell them from what I've played, and some of them are speculation, and I think the speculation is what it is. But it's just, to some degree, I like playing games in a very different way. And I know I'm saying I'm playing Metal Gear Solid again, but I haven't played Metal Gear Solid in like 2 decades almost. So that's fine for me to replay, because I'm working off a very different thing. I'll probably feel very different about redoing the same content I did in Palworld if I waited 10 years to do it again, you know? But
sure,
that's okay. I guess next time we play, we just need to try me hopping into your world and see what happens.
Yeah, never know.
And then we'll have there. But I'm going to move us over with a question that comes from a one-armed wolf who is currently the head of our trophy competition that we're holding over in the Discord. And he says, when do you anticipate uploading those trophies? Inquiring minds would like to see, side eye. For anybody who remembers the Great Betrayal.
Get in your fucking lane, a one-armed wolf. This isn't even the first time he's done this shit. And you're like, oh, show me the trophies. No. Go get trophies.
Here's what I love is that throughout the year, I have just been slightly hinting at the fact that I've been doing this, but I've been doing it with just enough coy playfulness that it's hard to tell if I'm being honest or not.
I want to be abundantly clear. I'm not doing this. I haven't tried to get trophies all year.
You know, it's so much more funny that there's been a few times where I think I had Chris believing that I also wasn't doing anything, because I've straight up said to Chris at a few times, like, oh, I just haven't even been worried about trophies while I'm over here playing my Vita, to nobody's knowledge. Just burning out some hardcore ass trophies.
Well, you were setting that up before last year's competition ended. But I think part of it is like, I believed you because like, I'm not being facetious. I don't fucking care.
Oh, I know
anymore. Like,
and it's so funny because the only reason I care is because One-Armed did exactly what I thought he was going to do, and he hit the ground running, and like first month got like 12K points or some crazy shit. You remember that?
Yeah.
And so immediately I was like, I was already kind of planning on doing this little tactic one last time. And I know that why would you trust me now, One-Arm? But this is genuinely my last year where I was even going to try, and you still might best me. I want to throw that out there. I will give you a little bit of hints. Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 will be platinums that I will have on Vita. And they're solid points there. But the one big hitter that I will tell you, I told Chris about it finally a couple weeks ago. I have been, for quite a while now, working my way through Super Meat Boy on Vita, which is about a 10,000 point trophy. And let me tell you, This is a brutal, brutal platinum. And I am making really good progress. If I keep kind of going at the rate that I have been going, I don't think it's crazy to think that I could have it within 2 weeks and a month.
Have you gotten to Salt yet?
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm getting all... Dude, first of all, the game's been beaten.
Yeah,
I beat the game in 2014,
sure.
15.
Well, why don't you tell everyone what you have to do? Dude, that's the missing context.
Hold on. What I actually want everyone to understand is just it's the bigger problem of the whole game. I don't want to say problem. The reason that this platinum is so fucking hard is because all of the hidden characters that you have to get through and some of these hidden worlds are the most grueling. You're talking about one level. I spent 2.5 weeks on one level for one side character.
Again, why is it so troubling? There's a reason for all of this, and he's not saying the reason.
Chris.
Because all this sounds like it's just, it's a hard platformer. There's a fucking reason.
I use the word brutal on purpose, Chris. If the people want to find out how ridiculous of a trophy this trophy list is, play the game. Here's the thing. I'm going to be so mad if I cannot get this fucking platinum.
I wouldn't. I would be like, yeah, you got beaten. Good for you.
Here's the thing. I'm going to be mad because the whole reason of me suffering through as much as I have is because the platinum is at the end of it. And if I don't get the platinum, this is the sunken time fallacy. This is the most time I have ever spent on something to not get the platinum.
Yeah.
So that's one big game, and if you can think about what a 10K point platinum looks like, think of a few other games on Vita that have big platinums worth quite a bit of points, and you might just be meeting me there. There is one that I genuinely don't know if I can pull off that I have also been slowly working on. This will be the only other game that I mention. I have been working on Ninja Gaiden Sigma.
Oh my God.
Off and on. And that, even, here's the thing, right? I actually think the Vita being like a little platinum machine for a lot of remasters has been great. And I've been having a good time doing it. Of all of the remasters, 99% of them are really good. And actually, Ninja Gaiden Sigma is really good. But they did not set the tolerances on the Vita joysticks well enough, in my opinion. The game is just a little wild to control on the sticks that are on the Vita. And that's the biggest problem I've been having. I have not even managed to beat the game yet. I'm very far, but I have not managed to beat the game yet. And this is also a game I have owned since literally day one of the Vita. I have tried this game a few times throughout the years, and I'm like, this would be a crazy platinum. I don't think I have it in me. What I can at least say is I know there is a very real possibility, like you with the Balatro Platinum. Like, I am close enough right now that, like I said, 2 weeks to maybe a month, I could see myself having it.
Jeez.
If I don't take a break. Like, if I
that platinum, for some context, that platinum so hard that you would be, according to PSN profiles, the 1,552nd person in the world to get that platinum.
At least that are on PSN profiles.
I don't know if it's everyone or if it's just PSN. Yeah,
I don't know how it pulls, but what a platinum. And then there's Binding of Isaac, which is ironically easier, seemingly.
Well, it's longer.
But takes about double the time.
Yeah.
So
different level of ease, I think. It's still hard.
Yeah, I think the thing about Meat Boy is a game of just understanding that if you're really good, it's still hard, but if you're really good, it's not nearly as long as the platinum. By the time I'm done, if I'm lucky, I'll be at like 140 hours.
That's funny because the YouTube video I watched, it's titled "I died 22,649 times for the Super Meat Boy Platinum." He says he played 700 hours.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
But it's funny because I remember watching the video and he said kind of the same thing that you were. I'll send you this video after so you can watch him die in real time. But he was saying the same thing. Like, he thought it was easy, and then it wasn't easy anymore.
And see, that's why I keep saying, like, as much as I have this 2 weeks to a month thing in my head, I could be totally wrong. Yeah. I could get to the very end and it just be like you trying to get that last gold stake on the, you know, where it's like, I don't know when it'll happen, but maybe one day.
Yeah. eventually.
Yeah. So it is what it is, but not gonna go for that one. Oh my dude, Crypt of the Necro Dancer. I looked into it. Dude.
Bro, if you got Stardew, Super Meat Boy, Ninja Gaiden, Binding of Isaac, and Crypt of the Necro Dancer, you may be the undisputed trophy king of the world.
So I got Stardew last year, so that's I'm at least
give
one
a fuck
down.
about years.
Yeah, I have a few tough platinums. I challenge anyone to go and really try to platinum Sonic Racing All Stars Transformed. That was a hell of a platinum too. But Chris, that is where we've been in the world of my trophy competition. I have been keeping my Vita offline, so I have not synced those trophies yet.
Do you want to know how many people have the platinum for Crypt of the Necro Dancer?
Dude, it's probably like 100 people.
It's a game that came out in 2016. Now, I want to be clear. I think these are the full numbers because PSN Profiles pulls both percentages.
Yeah.
So it must be the full numbers. 55 people.
It's even less. Oh, my God.
Oh. 55 people have platinumed the game.
What an insane list. I was looking at people because, like, of course, what I was doing, I want to throw out there. I think my list is impressive. I know he keeps being like, I want to see. He thinks it's going to be all jumping tacos. It's not. Does. I don't have any of those. I promise you. Now, whether or not they're all Super Meat Boys, no, they're not. But they are all games that have solidly challenging platinums, and I do actually, I'll give you another hint, I do have a visual novel in the mix. That still took a while. I wouldn't call that a jumping taco. I think that's important. Nope. Did I?
Yeah, good game.
I won't confirm nor deny.
Okay, so it's a good
game. With that said, I am going to move over into the news so we can get this show on the road. First thing we have is actually pretty new news. It just hit right before we started recording, or hit today. PlayStation has revealed a new lineup of limited edition Marvel's Wolverine PS5 hardware launching alongside the game on September 15th. The centerpiece is the Battle Yellow PS5 Digital Edition bundle featuring a bright yellow Wolverine-themed console with a matching DualSense controller. The bundle will cost $649.99 in the US, and Sony says there won't be a disc edition or PS5 Pro versions of the complete console bundle. If you already own a Slim or a Pro, though, Sony will sell the Battle Yellow console covers separately. There's also an adamantium-themed option for PS5 Pro owners featuring a metallic finish inspired by Wolverine's famous skeleton and claws. Both the Battle Yellow and adamantium DualSense will be sold separately for $85 each. That's, of course, USD. While the console covers will be $75, again, USD. The designs were created with Scottish comic book artist Jock, who also contributed to the game's key art. He says the goal was to capture Wolverine at his fiercest while bringing the energy of his traditional hand-drawn artwork onto the PlayStation hardware. If this is something you're interested in, pre-orders go live August 19th through PlayStation Direct, with the full collection arriving September 15th alongside Marvel's Wolverine. I definitely hope I can manage to get either of these, because I did not. I think I told you I bought the ones for Yote, but I bought the standard ones, and I have not wanted to do the work to manipulate the Yote Slim covers on the back end of the hooks to make them fit the Pro. You can do it. It's a lot of work. So here's the hoping that these pre-orders actually stay up. I don't think the yellow looks bad. Part of me almost wants it just because it would introduce some more color. But damn it if that adamantium cover one doesn't look slick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm probably going to pick up the... I want the yellow because I like weird colors for my consoles, but the silver just looks so good, and you can see the insides of the PS5. It's sick.
Everything about that was just like, I love this. This is exactly the thing I want. So
it was nice to see them making an effort.
Is it possible to get one of each? But I don't want to be that. Like, if I did that, it wouldn't be for me to sell the other. It would just be so I could swap them out if I ever wanted to. Or, hear me out, yellow on top, adamantium on bottom. What would that mix look like?
Yellow and silver.
Slightly see-through silver. This is funny because, of course, seeing people immediately hit the don't buy these. It was funny because everybody on Twitter is trying to boycott Sony, or at least postulate as if they are. If they are, hey, that's cool. I'm a big fan of putting your money where your mouth is. But the immediate thought I had was, good. Maybe that means there's a higher chance they won't sell out before I get a chance to get in. So I'm okay with that. If you want to boycott, that's cool. I'll choose to boycott once they stop making discs, or once they, it's like maybe I won't buy PS6, but we'll see. I'll probably buy PS6. Who knows? Things could change over time. Next piece of news that we have here, though, is in relation to Fortnite. Fortnite has officially confirmed that Sonic the Hedgehog is coming to its next season, titled Override. Chapter 7, Season 4 kicks off on August 20th, and Epic Games revealed Sonic's involvement with a short teaser showing the iconic Green Hill Zone. The clip features Sonic racing through a loop before Fortnite's Peely appears, running in a style reminiscent of Sonic Adventure. The reveal also adds weight to recent leaks suggesting that Override could revolve heavily around video game crossovers. Rumored collaborations have included Kingdom Hearts, Vampire Survivors, Persona, Minecraft, and even Tetris. Fans have also spotted what appears to be a Tetris-shaped cloud hidden in the Sonic teaser, leading to even more speculation that a Tetris crossover could be part of this season. Of course, gaming crossovers, are nothing new to Fortnite. Nearly 70 characters from other games have already appeared in the game, including Resident Evil, Street Fighter, Halo, Metal Gear Solid, God of War, Mortal Kombat, and Cyberpunk. For now, Sonic is the big confirmed addition, with the new Override season launching on August 20th. Chris, I know that you don't care about Fortnite. I don't really either. You know that I do care about Sonic, and I know that you traditionally have not been able to kind of get to speed, pun intended, with the Sonic series. But last time that we were playing Palworld together, you did tell me that you had, for some reason, you had decided to download Sonic X Generations. And I wanted to see if I could quickly get an update on if you ever returned to it after our conversation.
Yeah, I got S ranks on 5 or 6 worlds.
My God,
like total worlds. Go. So I did Green Hill Zone. I S ranked all of Act 1. The power plant, I got all the S ranks there. And then whatever was after that, the floating city that kind of looks like heaven. That one I did all the S ranks on. I haven't gotten much past there because I'm kind of confused at what the fuck I'm supposed to do next. Because it's 2 different Sonics, 2 different styles, which is interesting. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure I've beaten everything.
Yeah, are you at a point where you don't have one of the keys you need to move forward?
Yeah, I think I must be. Because I've gotten to where you hop around and there's these little portals or keys or whatever. I'm like, okay, this is neat. But I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. I am curious to see if you'll make it all the way through that. Part of me wants to tell you to just go play Sonic Generations or Shadow Generations, because Shadow Generations has the same idea, but instead it's like a hub world and it's in 3D. So you get to run around the white spaces and go into the areas, but there's a bunch of puzzle solving and little challenges that you can get. And the game just plays a lot better. That's just the truth of it. Like Shadow or Sonic Generations is actually one of the better 3D Sonics, in my opinion, which is all the more weird that in trying to honor 2D and 3D, the overworld is entirely in 2D. But that's okay. I still really liked that game and thought it was cool at the time. But with that being said, if you've been playing enough to S rank, not that that's crazy. Like if you get to where you're playing the game, you learn the levels, you can figure that out. But is it growing your appreciation for Sonic as a franchise, or are you kind of just playing it in hopes that you'll get somewhere with it still?
I think it would be funny to platinum, and that's it. I don't think this is very good. It's the same problems I had with the last one. It's I see where the fun is.
What's the last one? Did you play Frontiers? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I meant the last episode. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Did we not talk about it? I might have said it to you.
No, we talked about it. We talked about it. Palworld.
It's too fast. I know that sounds ridiculous coming from someone talking about a Sonic game. But I don't like that. It's hard because I understand why it's built the way it is, but I don't like a game that has 87 different paths for me to take while I'm going 600 miles an hour. Like, I know that you can't make a challenging platformer with collectibles and all of this kind of stuff without that. But maybe don't do it anyway, because it's not, I think the game is less fun because of it. Because it makes me want to go like, oh, what's up here? Oh, now I have to stop, lose all momentum, walk back. Oh, I can't walk back because I was going so fast that I've come into a different plane of existence than what I was trying to see before. And I don't like it.
I don't know that you ever will, but it's interesting hearing you say that, because Frontiers directly tries to deal with all of those problems by making it an area that is open world. And even if you mess up, you can just go back around to the thing you want to do, or you might find a new thing that you want to do within that. And you can't do that thing where, because it's not a strict level that's moving linearly, you have the freedom to slow down and do that. You also have the freedom to kind of choose how fast you want to go, because unlike in this game where you're always running fast and then there's also boost, Frontiers is a very different take on. It's still Sonic and it's still the same type of platforms and everything, but you have much more control. And I feel like speed's still there, but the context around what you can do within the speed and the freedom you have within it, it sounds so dumb to say, but at the same time, they weren't really shying away from it. It does to Sonic what Breath of the Wild did to Zelda. It's all familiar gameplay that suddenly, because of a new choice in how you choose to design everything, the series has a brand new perspective for you to focus and play around with the base idea of, for Breath of the Wild, it was being Link and having all these things that you can do while still saving the world. But this is, hey, you're still can go fast and you're still Sonic and it's still about friendship, but there's all the freedom that comes with us focusing on boss battles and open world and you running into the bosses in the world and there being combat that is not just run really fast and bump on people's head. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. I don't want to harp too much on Sonic. Everyone else does that enough, but it's just so weird, because while I say it's fast, it's also too slow. It's so weird where it's like, if you don't jump right, you just stop moving.
Yes.
If you hit a wall, you just stop. Like, I get it, you hit a wall, but like, he's running 600 miles an hour. He's either a pancake or he's got some momentum to keep going. You got to pick a lane. And instead he just stops and he just taps his foot. Oh, you went really fast and you hit a wall. I don't understand the design of it.
Yeah. I think one thing I did tell you is that the one thing I will really give Sonic is that even in their kind of contentious design eras, like even with Boost era being like split between the fan base, Sonic has continued to exist in a way where there are really no other games like it. There's no other game that has the design considerations that a Sonic game has to contend with. And in a way that makes it unique, but it also makes it hard to recommend and know that someone will like it because it's very peculiar. So it's like you either click with how weird the design work has to be for any given Sonic game, or you don't. But
yeah, I don't know.
Is what it is. All right. Well, hey, at least we know for sure now. This next one, actually, let's break it up real quick. Let's throw a question in there. We got a question from from Jehudi MD. He says, what kind of statistic in single-player games would you like to know? This question stems from people's preferences between first and third person in Resident Evil 9. It's funny because I think at this point in time, games that more so than not have things that have statistical interest to me usually highlight them. Can you think of a game? I mean, like a decision-based game like Dispatch, you get to see the statistics of who chose what. And even going back to like the Telltale games, I always thought that was interesting because that is the main thing for that game, and it's also the main thing that can change stuff. So it's cool to see what other people did.
I like it at the end. I don't like it. Like, I wouldn't want it like the timing is going down and it's like kiss her or don't kiss her. And it's like 48% of people kissed her. I don't want that because then it doesn't feel like
agreed. I want it to be something I feel at the end. And even if it's end of episode, that works. Because like that's what Dispatch does, right? The end of the episode, you get to see what happened. That's what Telltale did. Yeah, if it showed it to you automatically, it'd be funny. It'd be instant gratification, but it would make it less alluring, which is fair.
I would agree.
Speaking of which,
it would also color the decisions I make.
That's the one thing about the PS3 era that I'm a little glad left was the color coding of decisions. I'm like, hey, maybe I shouldn't know if it's good or bad. But that's also what made Infamous 2 so good to me, because they did the old Texas switch kind of like they did the switcheroo there, where it's like, oh, this person's been aligned with good the whole game and this person's been aligned with evil the whole game. But once it comes time to make the kind of penultimate decision, they're still color coded, but it's kind of obvious which one's which.
Yeah.
But in a way that feels like, nice. You got me.
Yeah. I don't know. I like them to a degree. Like I don't know. It's dialogue yellow paint, and that's fine. I don't mind yellow paint.
That's fair. But
because you don't want to be playing a Paragon Mass Effect run and then accidentally do a bunch of renegade shit and then
fuck yourself up. That's true.
Yeah, that just makes Mass Effect worse because there is no neutral option. So the game just sucks at that point.
Yeah, and I think that the idea of it being not color coded works when the game has got multiple paths in which you can end up. That works because then you don't know what you're doing, but either way you get to kind of feel something from it. Like even kind of the way that the Dishonored games approach, you don't know how much chaos your actions are really causing, but you can see it, and that's a different way, right? You're talking about when the game tells you 86% of players did this. I like that Dishonored never tells you, but it like does things to change the world, where it's like, if you've been playing in a really chaotic way, you're going to see like more decaying bodies and rats and stuff crawling through areas. And that's like a subtle way of you realizing that you've been doing more fucked up stuff. I think that stuff like that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I would agree.
But he is talking about stuff that's kind of a little more like, does Resi 9, did you beat Requiem?
No, I did not.
I didn't think you did. I wonder, does the game tell you first person and third person preference, or is that something that just Capcom released? Because I could see that. I think that's interesting, but I don't know if I would inherently be interested in knowing it so much as if Capcom said, hey, do you want to know how many people prefer to play in first person versus third person? I'd say, oh, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. I would never play a Resident Evil game in first person.
Unless you have to.
Yeah, but those games are made for the first person. I should, be clear. Same reason, like, I'll never play Halo in third person. Like, it's not for that.
Oh, I forgot they put a third person toggle in this one, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm not touching that shit with a 10-foot pole, bro.
That's interesting. That is really interesting.
They got to put the PlayStation camera angle on now that it's coming to PlayStation.
If it's not dramatic over the shoulder, wait, is Master Chief a dad in this one?
It's calling a lot of grunts. The grunts are calling him daddy. So
I can't really, I like the question, Jehudi, but I can't think of things that I actually would, the things that we've already learned, I would have actually, if they wouldn't have said it on our own, this generation, I would have been interested in knowing how many players play with performance mode versus quality mode. But we got that answer whenever they released the Pro. So I didn't really have to ask the question, but used to last generation, you'd hear people being like, I don't care that it's 30. And I mean, it's when it's the only option you have, you're like, yeah, it works. But there was a curiosity of, does that happen when there is an option? Do you still choose to go quality mode over the other? And I think it's been interesting to see that even when people used to say that they didn't care about frame rate, it would go to show that this generation, most players seemingly do, because almost everybody chooses performance mode over that. So I don't know. I mean, what else? How interested would you have to be in a singular game to care that much? Like, I want to know what the most commonly used gun to kill people in Call of Duty Black Ops 7 was. Is that something people really care about?
I think it's
in single player, I should specifically say. I could see why someone would want to know what the most common gun in multiplayer is, because it probably tells you that if you were to use that gun, there's a reason most people are using that gun, because it's power balance. But for single player,
look, I feel like what am I trying to say? Holy shit, I can't get the words out. I feel like it's very like interesting information to have. But I think the problem is that most games don't tend to be made in ways that would actually make it that interesting. Does that make sense? Where it's like, what are you getting statistics on in The Last of Us 1? How many clickers you killed, or how many clickers? Is that interesting? Like, sure, it's interesting as like a Twitter post of, oh, hello, Witchers, you've killed 100 million hippogriffs or whatever the fuck it is in that game. Sure. Like, that's interesting, I guess, but I don't need to see it, really.
I don't know that it's screen, but I would think maybe it would be interesting, using Last of Us as an example, to be like at the end of the game being like, you only use this much ammo. Because that can tell you like, oh, like that might be even brag worthy, right? Like you go to Twitter and post a screenshot that says, I beat The Last of Us using 12 bullets. That's actually pretty fucking impressive. I don't know if that's possible, but my point being is that the game has got a lot of resources, but you don't have to necessarily use them all the time. So I could see that being interesting, but I don't know if it'd be interesting to a point where I'd be actively seeking it out so much as if I saw it, I would find it interesting in passing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the reasons you see this in certain types of games is because those games are made that way. That's why you see them in dialogue, choice-heavy games. You see them in visual novels, and that's mostly it because that's where it matters. And it matters like on a individual sense. Like, if there's no decisions in the game, I don't know what I'm excited to hear about, Like, I love Kingdom Come Deliverance too. I don't give a fuck how many swords you made outside of just having a conversation with each other. But like, I don't need to go into my friends list, click on your name and see, oh, Brett made 70 Henry quality swords. Brett made no armor because the game for some reason doesn't have that in there. Brett has done this much work in his house. Brett has killed this person. Brett has done this. It's like, it's cool information that I may look at, occasionally if it comes up, in the same way that I'll go to my games profile on the PSN store, be like, oh, I have fucking $1,400 in Destiny. Don't I want to kill myself because of it? Like, and I don't. That's Apex, not Destiny. So I don't know. I think statistics are cool, but I think like I don't see myself looking for them in most games more than once, if at all, because honestly, I didn't look at them in Dispatch more than once. So,
but that's a good way for us to move on into the next piece of news, where Rockstar is giving fans an extended look at Grand Theft Auto 6 later this month. That's no surprise, but maybe what will surprise you is Netflix gets it first. The presentation premieres on August 27th at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 8 p.m. in the UK. 6 hours later, it'll also be available on Rockstar's YouTube channel and the official Grand Theft Auto 6 website. Rockstar hasn't said how long the presentation will be or exactly what it will show. That's especially interesting because despite releasing 2 trailers so far, the studio still hasn't shown actual gameplay. Netflix says the event will offer an extended look at what it calls, quote, the next evolution, end quote, of the Grand Theft Auto series, and describe the reveal as a major cultural moment for gaming. Pre-orders for Grand Theft Auto 6 are already live, with the standard edition priced at $80 and the ultimate edition $100. The physical version is expected in November, although it will contain a download code rather than a game disc. For now, the biggest question is whether this August 27th presentation will finally give us our first proper look at Grand Theft Auto 6's gameplay. Chris, you're the person who cares way more about what's happening in the world of Grand Theft Auto than me. Mm-hmm. I find this, much like what we're talking about in the question, I find this fascinating, mainly because even if I don't care about Grand Theft Auto 6 in that kind of way, this seems like such an interesting way to go about doing this. And I mean interesting in the true sense. I don't think that this is inherently good or bad. It's just a weird choice. It's not the obvious choice. And you have to wonder how much Netflix paid for them to do this, seemingly just so they can go look at the amount of engagement we had on August 27th.
Netflix paid because I'm positive hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people will sign up for Netflix, even if it's for the month. So those, or even if it's a free trial, those millions of people, 500K, forget to subscribe. That's how it works. What's the point? Like, what are we surprised about? This is like I don't understand why this is surprising, and I don't understand why people are up in arms. This is
it's a shame we don't have sponsors for the show, because it would be a great segue into, but you don't have to worry about forgetting because Rocket Money has your back. Darn. Sponsorship slipped right through our fingers, and I still shouted them out for free. Hey, you're welcome. Anyway.
Mid-service. You didn't cancel any of the bills you said you would. That's actually unironically not completely true. Like, I used it and tried to get it to do like, oh, adjust my bill, to cancel stuff I'm not using. It didn't cancel shit. It was always like, oh, well, you actually have to go in and cancel it. And I'm like, no shit. Like, that's how this works. Why did you tell me you could? Either way, I don't know. I feel like I just think the biggest entertainment launch of all time is going to be treated like the biggest entertainment launch of all time. Like, I don't get why this is shocking. And first of all, I'm telling you right now, this is not a trailer. This is going to be
I don't think it's a trailer either. This seems like a showcase for the game.
No, it's not that either. I promise you it's not. It is going to be the same thing they did for GTA 2, same thing they did for GTA San Andreas, and I believe they've done it for 3 and maybe not 3, but Vice City I believe they did, and 4 I think they did. But all of those games have 20 to 30 minute prequel movies. That's what this is.
I mean,
it's going to be
interesting from a storytelling standpoint if you give a shit about what the story is going to be, which is a genuine thing. I wonder how many people are that worried about the story. This is a good question for you because you care about these games more than I do. How many players that love Grand Theft Auto do you think love it because of the quality of the storytelling versus the freedom of the sandbox?
I guess no. But I mean,
it was more of like a gut feeling thing. Like, do you feel like more players are like, fuck yeah, because they're ready to experience the story? Or do you think more players are like, fuck yeah, because they just want to jump in and do crazy shit on a whim?
I mean, I feel like for a game that sold 134 million copies, 60 or 16% of people beating the game would indicate that a lot of fucking people care.
That's honestly a higher number than I would have anticipated.
And that's just the PS4 version.
But that's not bad.
So, it's 130 something million, 100 million copies plus. Those people are beating the game. So, I mean, a lot of people. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, this could be a black screen and people are going to sign up for Netflix and watch it. It just needs, I'm sorry, let me rephrase because it'll fit more with the thing. It could be a pink screen and people are going to watch it. It's Grand Theft Auto 6. Like, I don't understand this notion of people like pretending this is not going to be big. Oh, it's GTA. I guess Strauss Zelnick the other day said that pre-orders had exceeded expectations. Yeah. And people were like, oh, well, because they didn't give a number, it actually sold less, and that's just corpo talk. I'm like, guys, it's fucking Grand Theft Auto. Do you know how many people are going to play that? Let me explain something to the people out there. Like, I know that a lot of our audience is like, they don't consider themselves casual gamers. Okay. We make fun of ball and gun gamers. Okay. I'm a ball and gun gamer. And I play more games than half the people who are complaining about them. But my brother's wife, who has only played and finished one video game in her entire life. Brett, take a wild guess what game that was.
Sounds like Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah. And you want to know the only game that she's looking forward to for the rest of her life? Brett, say it with me.
Grand Theft Auto 6.
So let's get our heads out of our ass. Okay, this is why. This is the thing. This is why none of this matters, because I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it. It's Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah. Look, while I may not care about Grand Theft Auto 6 in the way that most people do, I would never act like this is not going to be huge. That's a silly
that's my thing.
Say.
It's like it makes me think less of you as a person if you say that, because you're just dumb. Like, it's just a dumb thing. I don't know
at that point, because look, at that point I have to really wonder if you're just doing it to be contrarian.
Of course. But that's all this is.
That's a whole, like, I can completely understand someone just being like, I don't care for the type of game that Grand Theft Auto 6 is trying to be. That's a very reasonable thing to say. But to act like swaths and swaths of people don't is crazy. You did say biggest entertainment. We'll see how it keeps going. This is more, again, gut check. There's not really an incorrect answer, I don't think. Well, one of these days, I guess we'll know. Hard to compare. I guess it's a little apples and oranges. But is this bigger than Spider-Man Brand New Day?
It's not even, Spider-Man Brand New Day is not even close.
You think so? I want to say not money, because of course comparing ticket sales and even DVD sales to an $80 video game, you can't. But I'm saying like percentage of the world population who went out and spent the money in early days during the point in time where gaining the money is worth it. Do you think that this is a bigger, I think in the long run, I'd feel comfortable saying that this is probably a bigger cultural moment. It's going to be in history a bigger cultural moment than Spider-Man was, mainly because there will be another Spider-Man movie in probably 4 to 5 years, and most likely there will not be another Grand Theft Auto for another 20 years. But
yeah, I guess cultural is probably the better way to say it, because more people are going to go see spend $10 on a ticket, or $15, whatever.
It's also Spider-Man's just more age. It can dissolve into more ages than Grand Theft Auto can, and the cheaper price does make it easier. And then I think it's a little easier to be worldwide understood. Like different cultures still seem to love Spider-Man, whereas some cultures will look at Grand Theft Auto and be like, "Fuck no, no, we cannot partake in the activities of that game."
Are you assigning fake valor to Spider-Man?
I don't think I am.
Well, you just called Spider-Man worldwide, and as we know,
I didn't say Pitbull more worldwide, but
you called him worldwide, and Pitbull is Mr. Worldwide. So
you're right.
Can you apologize to Pitbull, please?
Hey, Pitbull,
Mr.
Come
Pitbull.
and fix it, Mr. Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide. Come do something about it.
Cool. All right. What a song.
And while you're at it, bring me one of your cool Pitbull head shavers. I'll try the bald look. Yeah, look, this is clearly going to be a big moment. I'm happy for people who are excited about it. This is genuine. If this was like a few days of exclusivity, I'd get it. Probably hard to hold containment because people would just film it and try and post it on YouTube, and you'd be fighting strikes. But even with people loving this franchise and this being a huge moment, I don't see any reason for anybody who's not already a Netflix subscriber to not just wait the couple of hours. That's the part that I'm not understanding. If you even gave it 24 hours, I might be like, okay, 6 hours?
Because the people who this is for don't know it's only there for 6 hours. The people this is for are probably not even watching it on August 27th.
That's crazy.
It's not for you, not you in general, but you. It's not for you. Because
I know it's not for me.
Like, that it's happening. The fact that is the immediate indicator that this has nothing to do with you.
That's a fair point.
But
do you think they're sending emails to people's like Netflix subscribers? Do you think Netflix is going to email me and go, "Please come back, Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer,
Yes.
It's 27th," and I'll say, "No, you charge $30 a month. Fuck you."
I don't know. This is not. I don't know, man. The whole conversation let's just talk about discs, and we can have the whole thing at once and then end this show.
Let's talk about disc stickers. Sony is reportedly starting to place warning labels on some PS5 boxes about its plan to stop producing physical game discs for new releases in January 2028. An image shared online appears to show a sticker telling buyers that from January 2028, newly released PlayStation games will only be sold digitally through the PlayStation Store or retailers. Games released on disc before that date would still work on compatible PS5 consoles. For now, though, the label itself hasn't been independently verified, and it's unclear whether Sony is applying it to every PS5 model. The report comes after Sony acknowledged criticism from players over its move away from physical media. The company says it understands the strong reaction, but still plans to move cautiously toward an all-digital future. Sony has also been speaking with retailers about what the transition could look like, including the possibility of stores continuing to sell boxed products containing digital download codes. While the warning label still needs confirmation, the broader message is clear. Sony is preparing at least right now, PlayStation customers for a future where new physical game discs are no longer part of the platform. I thought this was interesting because I saw people flip out over this as if it was a terrible thing. And I can understand that if you want disc, that you're bummed that this seems to be more of a nail in that coffin. But if they're making this move, wouldn't you be more mad if they weren't making sure people buying the console were aware of the fact that it would not play disc after 2028? Like, if this is real and this is what they're doing, does this not feel like exactly what they should be doing?
Yeah.
I guess that's why I don't understand. Like, I saw some people having controversy over this. Just as a bit of news, okay, cool. We know that they're doing it, which means that there's a really high chance who didn't already know that they were trying to move forward with this. Again, stranger things have happened. They could back up on it. I don't think they're going to back off on
They
it.
won't.
So, point being, what is the point of being up in arms over this? I'm glad that they're doing this because I think it would be unfortunate for someone who's just now buying one for Grand Theft Auto and thinking, oh, I'll also do all these various things with it. And if I want to buy any other games, I can buy them on disc. It's just good to let them know that that's not a possibility. For the 2 cents the sticker cost for you to put on the box. Because these are also probably already manufactured PlayStations that are just getting the sticker put on as they're being shipped.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is fine. I don't understand. My thing is, like, Sony didn't have to say this. And they did not have to tell anyone.
Out loud or on the stickers?
Both.
Well,
Both.
I want to hear you point out. Go ahead.
They didn't have to tell anyone because Xbox hasn't been doing real discs in like fucking 15 years and nobody cares. Like other companies have been making this move. When's the last time you saw a PC disc? It wasn't like Civ 4.
Yeah.
Like it's already over in every other platform except Nintendo. And Nintendo's on their way there. Yeah, the game key card is cool, but until Sony did this, everyone was like, "Oh, this is terrible. I hate this." When actually, that seems pretty cool to me. I don't know. I think it'd be cool to have a. Actually,
the only downside is that the long-term nature of it. Like, if you ever shut the service down, it is just dead weight at that point. Actually, dude, a game key card solves exactly my problem with digital media. You're still putting it on something that finally gives you the right to loan it to someone, to sell it to someone. All of those things are true. Game key card is awesome. I thought it was weird people were shitting on that too. Would I prefer it to be on the cartridge? Of course. Are Nintendo also making it really hard to get cartridges that actually have storage? Also true. This seems like a pretty happy middle ground. You cut the cost of the cartridge considerably down. Honestly, if they wanted to do this with disc, I wouldn't. I think that would be a better step forward than full disc discontinuation.
Well, so what's the next step of game key cards?
Well, what do you mean by that in terms of what happens with them, or the next step after? Like, what's after
game key cards?
Strictly digital ownership, which we already have had.
But that's my point. Then the next step, and this has kind of been my argument the whole time. I've been super clear. I could not give a fuck less about this.
Yeah.
I could not care less. And quite frankly, I don't think anybody cared until Sony said you can't have discs. Just temper tantrum. But to me, I don't know, like the whole issue that we should be arguing about is not discs and not, oh, I missed midnight releases at GameStop. And, oh, my dad, I remember cracking the case on Christmas with my dad. Cool. I have good memories too.
Yeah.
Right? I have good memories too. But that is not a productive argument. It's not productive to be like, well, they're really killing our culture because there's no midnight launches. There have not been midnight launches in fucking years, bro.
No, that culture in
not
particular
legitimate
has been
ones.
gone. Yeah. No. And number one, I too mourn the loss of that culture, but I think what might be happening right now is people are just now realizing that culture has been dead and they're trying to blame it on this. When that culture was dead, once digital just became the predominant, which we know happened around like 2018.
Well, you get big ones. I think
that was the last midnight I remember seeing locally around here was Spider-Man.
Yeah, because they'll do it for big games. I'm positive that Best Buy will sell you your code in a box at midnight. Like, I am positive they will do that. Or the funniest thing they could do is you pre-order the code in the box and they send you the digital code at midnight and then ship you the box. That would fucking make me laugh.
Oh boy.
But yeah, I just the things that we need to be arguing about is not discs, it's making the digital ecosystem better, because the thing is, like, whether Sony announced it or not, which is why I've maintained that despite people thinking this is a shitty decision, it's like Sony handled this in like the least evil way they could. And, you know, using the words other people use about this is you have 2 years, about a year and a half. Let's go with that. Make it easier. You have a year and a half that you know this is happening. They're still going to make discs for PS5 games printed before that. By the way, the PS6 will be out by then. So
I'm actually really curious about that one. I'm not saying you're wrong or right. I'm curious because something has to happen. Memory prices continue to get worse. I see no way for them to release that console in any real way. I don't even see a way for them to produce the console, if I'm being honest.
Well, people have said it doesn't matter. They have to make the console because they already paid for, or they already got their places in line. If they don't make it, they'll lose their place in line. So they're going to get their RAM and they're going to make the console. What is going to happen is that it's a 12, but it's the same. I've said this before. It's going to be the PS5 Pro. That's what the PS6 is. And I'm pretty sure that we've been on that track since the PS4 with backwards compatibility, but with the PS6 is just going to be an upgrade. And the PS7, the PS6 Pro is just going to be exactly what it is. The PS5 Pro. And we're just going to keep going on that way. Because yes, you're right. I don't think this is going to be affordable for anyone. Although realistically, like if you saved $10 a week until then, you'd have the money most likely, maybe $20. But, you know, there's a little bit of saving for luxury purchases is important. But I think with this, it's just like, we need to be arguing for, like, why can't I have bought Kingdom Come Deliverance digital and sent you my license? Yeah. And been like, I'm letting Brett borrow my license. The answer is because then you won't go buy a copy. That's the answer. But even if Sony was like $5 and you send him this thing, fine.
You know, dude,
I pay more than that to ship the fucking game to you. So
you know, I have been banging this particular drum. I kid you not, since the podcast has started. Yeah. You may not know that because you came in later, but I have been talking about this type of thing for digital ownership since we've started this podcast to some degree. This has long been my problem. I have zero problems with things going all digital. My problem is entirely within the way, and ownership is such a weird word because if you want to get technical on it, you can claim that I don't own any of the games that are on my disc. But I think that that's disingenuous to what people mean by that. And what people mean is that regardless of whether I owned the game on PS3, that, you know, okay, this is a good example, Chris. Mm-hmm. Do you own Wolverine X-Men Origins on PS3? In a very, very technical way, no. But Correct. In the way in which you own it, enough to be able to have mailed it to me a year and a half ago, and for me to still have it right now and be planning to ship it back to you, does mean that you have something. If you don't want to call it ownership, that's fine, but you have more tangible access to do what you want to with that game than you do with current digital licenses. Even if it's just a license on a disc, you have access to it and things that you can do with it that you cannot do with digital. That's my thing across the board. Has always been, I want digital rights to be closer to that. You've never owned a game. You've always only ever owned the license and the data on the medium in which you needed it to play on the cart or on the console at hand or the computer, whatever it be. So all I want is digital rights to get closer. And I understand that comes with some of its own things, which is, you know, you have to pay for the server storage. You have to pay for me to be able to do those things. Fine. If all it comes down to is that I still think that lending should ultimately be free, but even if it was a light charge, I think that'd be worth it. But more importantly, I think you should just be able to sell games you're done with to someone who wants it, and then they get to make money. And it could be a code thing in there. It could be the publisher gets 70% of whatever you sell it for. And let's say, but to sell a game, you have to pay $5. 70% of that $5 goes to the publisher of the original game. 30% goes to PlayStation. I don't think PlayStation would ever do that. Point being, I'd be fine with that. It'd be better than just sitting on a game I'll never play again that someone else wants to play, you know?
I'm not. The problem with what you just said is that it sounds really good and it's completely nonsensical.
How is it nonsensical?
How much
in terms
would you,
of like impossible, or that you just don't see a company choosing to do it?
Well, they would never do it. But second of all, okay, I paid $70 for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. How much should I sell it to you for?
I think it should just be a percentage like it is on eBay, right? Let's say that you sell it to me for $30.
Okay, why would Sony let me sell it to you for $30 when they're selling it for 60? Why?
Well, they let you do it right now with disc. They've been letting you do it for.
Though. They've been trying to kill that for years. I don't know what you're talking about.
But they still do. They still do let you. Every time they make a disc, it's understood. And they themselves go out of their way to say what balances the closed ecosystem.
There is no Sony sponsored PlayStation marketplace. They allow you to because GameStop does it. They don't allow you to. GameStop does.
They allow you as an individual to do it. I can go to you and go, Chris, I don't want my copy of Chronicles of Riddick Assault on Dark Athena anymore. Would you be willing to give me $20 for it? No company has to be involved in that decision at all.
Yeah.
And by making the disc, they gave us that right.
No, they
Whether
didn't,
they wanted to or not doesn't matter. They still gave it to us. And the only way
they
to
chose
stop
not to fight about it. That's what they did because they could stop it, but there's no reason to. All they have to do is put a fucking macro on the disc, and then there's nothing you can do. It immediately registers to a PlayStation.
Anything, but that's not. No market operates that way.
This is like a microcosm of my entire issue with all of this. It's like I understand that Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo and Valve and all these places, they're big conglomerates. Their work does not have less value to people because it's a conglomerate's work, and that's what annoys me. I'm not even talking about you. I'm saying, like, I didn't mean for that to come off with so much heat. I apologize. But I don't like people like. Grand Theft Auto 6 is the blood, sweat, and tears of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And there are people who are like, oh, I hope it fails because fuck Rockstar. It's like, this is what I don't understand about. I know. But like, I don't understand why we have conversations like this with games. It's like with game, and it's only with games, really. It's like, sure, sometimes nobody is boycotting Amazon or whoever the hell got rid of that guy's Lord of the Rings the other day. That happened, and he didn't get a refund, and no one fucking boycott this. They didn't even say what company it was from the tweet I saw. And then suddenly people's work, whether it's Sony's or mine, you think that like, hey, let's just we'll shit on it, and we go because they're not making discs. I don't have to put my book out physically. You don't have to do any. You don't have to put out. I'm not even saying it to be rude. You haven't put out any music physically, have you? Maybe you have some CDs at shows or whatever. But you're not in Walmart. That's not a dig. I'm not trying to be a dick. What I'm saying is like, people respect personal art, but they do not respect art from things that are not personal. And I don't understand why we treat these things differently. I get that, like, at a fundamental base human selfish level, I want disc, I get disc. But that's just not how things work.
I don't think it's entirely that. To be more serious, like the rest of that was just kind of riffing on the legality of things is really weird. Like that's a legitimate thing. The legality of a lot of things is really weird.
I'm writing a book, so you kind of triggered me a little bit.
But on a more like literal important note, like if you really want to pull back and look at how people interact with art as a commodity, I think even if you want to just pull back and see how people interact with art as a medium, as a thing that you're doing, right, is the reality is that people already do all the things that they talk about with the game, and there is a group of there's quite a large group of people in every medium of art, every type of art, whatever you want to call it, because medium maybe is more like you're putting it on DVD, but or you're putting on Blu-ray, you're putting on film or whatever. But I think movie making would be like the type of art, and watching movies. There's a really big group of people who actually really do like the physical aspect of all that. I mean, vinyls and 4K Blu-rays and stuff like that. I'm not saying it means that everybody has to follow their whims, but I think it is important to note that there are people who go out of their way to appreciate the medium in a specific form. So I think, distance ourselves for a second about the cost and all that, because that part is the part that gets complicated legally speaking. I agree with your general statement that people shouldn't be forced to put something out physically if they don't want to. And I agree with that. The majority of games are released only digitally because the majority of games that are released are independent releases that are small and would be difficult to find someone to distribute and make. So, of course, I would never say that there has to be physical games to the point where every game has to be released physically, because that's stupid. But when games can be released physically, I think that's something to be celebrated, because much like when music can be put out physically, it can kind of live on in a different way than it can whenever you look at things digitally. Though conversely, digital things can live on in a different way than physical. It's just the nature of their two things. But we tend to share art in a really realistic way. Even if I don't loan you Kingdom Come, if you come to my house and watch me play it and you experiencing it alongside me, you're experiencing some of that art without anybody else's say so or ability to control that. And thankfully that can still happen with a digital release, right? But even with music, we do a thing where card night, I take a different, whenever we do card night at my buddy Big Steph's house instead of Little Steph's. He is big on vinyls. So every week that we go to his house, I'll bring a new vinyl from an artist I don't think he's heard anything of, and I'll bring it to him and let him borrow it until I come back, and I'll bring a new one. And that's like me sharing my music with him. And I don't think I'm hurting the artist in that particular situation, monetarily speaking. I'm introducing him to something, and there's been a few that he's gone, hey, I really like that. And he bought the vinyl after he bought a copy of the vinyl if he could find one after I let him borrow it. And I think that that's the way that people need to think about art, and physical media does introduce a way for people to interact with art differently than digital media can. It makes it harder for you to share the love of something with someone else in a way that can make them see it for what it is and then want to buy in on their own. Physical media allows that, so it's something I wish that I understand it not being a common thing, but I can also understand people who are saying, hey, it would have been really neat for them to have done it in small batches that they can allow, I think of the word that they use for it, but basically like boutique brands to be able to still be like, hey, we're going to make limited numbers of disc so that these brands can sell them at an upcharge, because it's a more complicated thing to do when things are being mass produced. And that's kind of where I'm at here. I think that it's an important part of gaming that shouldn't be considered so easily lost, even though I can understand people who don't care about it because they don't interact with it that way. Like you.
Yeah, I'm not, I want to be super clear about my position. My position is not, you shouldn't want discs or you shouldn't be upset about this. My position is it's fucking insane to talk about any of this the way that we're talking about it, because it's not realistic, and it's not I don't know if right is the right word, but there's just no logic behind a lot of it. Not you and me, but just the general tenor of the conversation, where it's nobody's buying discs, and it doesn't make Sony evil for doing that. And if you actually pay attention to what's going on in the industry, I know it sounds ridiculous, but maybe the whatever 100 million total they'll save next semester, that's an Astrobot. I'm not sitting here pretending that, they're going to, AAA gaming is saved because of the no discs. I'm saying that RAM is billions of dollars. Everything is expensive, even for them. Okay. Stuff's expensive for them too. So my hope is that, and I could be wrong, I could be naive. Everything could get worse. Everything can get worse.
Sure.
Maybe I buy a license to a game.
Always.
And I think it's a little outrageous to think it will. Because no matter what you think of Sony, they need their customers. So this world of they're just going to start taking away your games and they're going to start charging $180 per game. They still have to sell the fucking games. Does nobody think? This is why I'm not dooming and glooming over all this stuff like everyone else, and it frustrates me. It's
to that point in particular, that this is, I think, a really important thing to note is you're right. I don't think Sony has motivation to do that. But what I think happens is that when Sony stops making discs, which are a way around publishers' strong arming situations, Sony can't do anything about that. Sony doesn't, I agree, Sony ideally doesn't want to take anything away from you. But what happened in the movie situation is that Sony ran into a licensing issue because of some of the things. If you remember, the movie rights that were happening were one publisher of movies, one distributor. I think it was Warner Brothers, something like that. But the point being is Sony in that instance, and it's not their fault. I can understand that, but I can also see people using it as an example. It wasn't wasn't at Sony's behest to say, I'm sure Sony would have loved to say, we don't want you taking our customers' movies away from them, but Sony couldn't do anything about it. And since it only exists in that format, it just disappears for everyone who is involved. And that's at the behest of someone else. And the best gaming example I can think of for this right now is the classic PT example, where Sony has no reason to want to take PT off their store. But unfortunately, PT is a game that's actually interesting and I think worth playing here and there and seeing how it was. And it could be a cool, like a social impact piece for people to go back and look at. And unfortunately, we just can't, because Konami decided they didn't want anyone to have it. So you can't even re-download it if you already bought it because of Konami, not because of Sony. So by taking away disc, the few times that big enough games like Grand Theft Auto 6 might have Take-Two one day, I don't know why the hell they do this, but if they decided they just wanted to completely erase digital licenses of that game, nothing exists in the world that can stop that now, if they wanted to do that, whereas a disc is a way to fight that. Now, to your point about game key cards, it's not you can't fix that with game key cards, because the moment you put a game key card in and it's trying to go to the store and download a digital version of a game that they've pulled from the store, it's just as dead as anything else would be. But you know, it's to some degree your point of, if for the publishers who want to do it, you can continuously kick the can further down the road and make it a little harder. But eventually, if they wanted to, they'll find a way, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think this conversation would be a lot more intelligent, and maybe that's just the problem. It's frustrating me that it's not a very smart conversation from anyone on either side. But hopefully we tried to have a smart conversation today.
All right, man. Let's knock out a couple questions real quick and let's get going. How you feel about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
This first one's a doozy. Sweet Ryathalos Jones over on Discord says, your loved ones' lives are on the line. Which game are you choosing to platinum to save them? Ace Combat 7, Crimson Desert, or SnowRunner? Choose wisely.
What happens if I kill myself? Do they get released?
They probably die too. That's what the setup sounds like.
Well, at least we'll all be together in the end. The answer is Crimson Desert, because I think it's the only one I could put myself through that much of playing.
Yeah, this is interesting because I have not played any of these three games, but I know you've played Crimson Desert, and it's interesting to hear that be your choice, because I know that you didn't really like Crimson Desert.
I did not. But that's the thing. It's funny because I like Ace Combat 7 more than Crimson Desert, and I enjoyed what I played of SnowRunner more than Crimson Desert. But I would rather play Crimson Desert for 300 hours than either of those games.
Yeah, I think that's my answer, because I think at least Crimson Desert is aiming. It's made with the thought process in mind that it has enough content in it to where, as a first playthrough, there's probably 200 to 300 hours of content, regardless of how good it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's content slop. There's content.
Yeah, whereas at some point, I would imagine at Ace Combat 7, you're just playing the same mission again and again. And hey, that's cool. I don't mind that. But as we were talking about earlier with Palworld, I tend to like even low-hanging fruit. I like new content that gives me a little sense of, well, I didn't expect this, at least. I didn't know what was coming. Whereas at some point, I'd get tired of doing the same shit in all the other games. Whereas these are three perfect games for Ryan to put on here, because he plays games. I have so much respect for this man. He plays games in a way that I don't. Terraria may be the closest I've ever gotten to playing a game in the way that he means it. When he says, I played Crimson Desert, or I've played Crimson Desert, when he eventually will step away from it. But this man's going to have 500, 600, 700 hours in Crimson Desert. It's like the only game he's played this year. More power to you. So, but I will say that type of game usually seems to be a good type of game for platinum. There's enough to keep you rolling. You could I wouldn't be surprised if I end up downloading Crimson Desert and enjoying it for like 20 hours. Yeah. It's on my list to try before the year's out. So that's like, for me, that's like the biggest thing with it is it's like, I definitely will enjoy it in pockets, and probably the pockets will be multiple or multitude, whatever you want to use that sounds better. But
it wasn't fun because none of it, I didn't find anything coalescing to it. It's like, oh, go over here and get wings. Now go do bow fighting and then go do this and then pull down the tree and go flying. I don't know. It wasn't for me, at least not at the time I was into it. But I'm not playing SnowRunner for that long. And I'm certainly not playing Ace Combat 7. So it would be like Crimson Desert, SnowRunner, Ace Combat.
I like how we chose to answer this without looking at how hard any of these platinums are.
Look, let's see.
We went purely vibes.
Yeah. Well,
which I think is the right call.
I imagine if my parents are on the line, I have some extra. I have I'm committed. I'm not going to work or anything. You know?
Yeah, you call your boss like, I cannot come in.
Yeah. I have to play Crimson Desert or my family dies. So Ace Combat 7 is a 6 out of 10 and 80 hours.
Time wise, there's no way Crimson Desert's less than 80 hours.
I'm pretty sure
very unlikely.
Early estimates for Crimson Desert were like 500 hours.
Oh boy.
Now what point do SnowRunner is a 3 out of 10 with 100 plus hours.
Like, what happens if you get the platinum and as you get the platinum, you get a call that's like, actually, your parents just died before you could get the platinum. They died of completely natural causes.
You shouldn't have gotten distracted by the gardening. You should have gone and done the trophies. It looks like the right answer based on everything is probably Ace Combat or SnowRunner, because SnowRunner is 100 plus hours, but it's a 3 out of 10.
So it's just a long grind, but not particularly challenging.
Yeah. I'm going to check Crimson Desert. I still think my answer is Crimson Desert, regardless of what we say. Dude, there's not even a trophy guide for Crimson Desert.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's how you know. There's something. Oh, there's a estimated. Yeah, none of these are like PSN profiles or true trophies. It's like Steam.
That's wild.
The estimate is 200 to 300 hours for Crimson. So
yeah,
nope.
My answer, I want to throw out there, my answer is completely assuming that the game works and none of the trophies are bugged.
You imagine if you do that and the trophies are bugged? You choose
Crimson Desert and it's like Ark was at first, where you just can't get the platinum if you want to.
Mom and Dad, I gotta wait for the update. I'm sorry, Mom.
And then the developer closes down. Mom.
Call Mark Cerny. You're like, I need you to pop the platinum for me. I've done the requirements, man.
You don't understand. I will send you gameplay of me doing it. I will send you a video.
Brett of Triangle Squared has my family locked up. You need to pop the platinum for me.
Oh boy, what a question though, because I do think those are 3 interesting games to choose for that. Yeah, you could go to the flip side of it, Chris. 3 games that you have to platinum, therefore meaning they're on your list, and you have to defend the fact that they're on your list, and then have 3 of the most slop ass games ever down there. That would be an interesting thing. Like, which shitty game do you want to be on your list?
I would do all 3 of them. What the fuck? I got 15 minutes.
You're right. About? See, it's funny that One Armed was like, they've got to be jumping tacos. And I'm like, I don't have those. If I don't even have mayo, so that has to tell you something about it. I'm not saying mayo is even a big deal, but it at least tells you that that's not where my brain goes. I don't go towards those types of platinums.
You should.
I have to live with the shame of Road Bustle, and that's only because I didn't realize I would get the platinum on the 3rd time of going across the street. And I was like, okay, it's like a Frogger style game. Maybe it does get fun. No, no, it doesn't. I played for 10 more minutes after getting the platinum to be like, is it at least a good game? No, no, it's not. But that's okay. Last question we have here comes from one of our newest patrons, the Boorish Boar. He goes, "Do you think?" And this is where we get adults with the show. So if this is not your bag, we'll see you next time. Come back around. Follow us on. Go to Nartec, go to patreon.com/Nartec and become a patron if you want to. He says, "Do you think we will see authentic 0G porn in our lifetime? Also, do you think any astronauts have done the deed in space? And what do you think the benefits and drawbacks of orbital orgasms would be?" We've got to be like, okay, look, at this point, you can book flights for, like, don't get me wrong, it's expensive still, but you're talking like, you can like pay a couple grand or maybe like $10,000 to do a a flight where you go up and you don't circle the moon or anything. You don't even technically leave the atmosphere, but you reach 0G and then you come back down. Right. So the question is, could you
fuck?
Hold on. He says authentic 0G porn. At this point, Pornhub has lowered the threshold of what is considered authentic porn. Now just taking your phone out and filming yourself getting railed in a bathroom for 3 minutes, I think technically counts as authentic porn.
That's
right?
more authentic porn than anything else. What
that's
the fuck
more
are you
authentic
talking
than
about?
anything. Yeah, that's a fair point. So at that point, as it becomes more commercially viable, are we not like 5 years away, maybe 10 years away from this being a reality?
Yeah. I would be so well.
This seems like a good. This seems like a good ploy for someone to do right now.
It does, but it will never happen until space travel or 0G travel is affordable for everybody. It will never happen.
Basically, it won't happen until it's like vehicle sex started. Once
NASA
vehicles became
will not
something
stain its name with a Brazzers shoot at the ISS.
Yeah, but what about fucking what was that company that was doing
Bang
it?
Bus goes to space.
Bang Bus makes their own. Actually, dude, the space race for porn. Who will be the first porn company to? And actually, at that point, Bang Shuttle is that. My money's on that. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. So
I feel like the more interesting conversation is like, could you imagine if the Bang Shuttle could like travel at light speed? So then it would be like, this week on the Bang Shuttle, Arbella Danger sleeps with from planet Mudawaka. And then when it's re-uploaded, the caption is she spins on his twirl thing.
Lisa Ann comes out of retirement for exclusive video.
Oh no, Han, I got trapped in the trash compactor.
But you see, like, I get that NASA wouldn't, with them being like legitimately a government funded thing.
You're right, SpaceX would. I'm dumb.
But yeah, SpaceX and Blue Origin, like SpaceX seems obvious. Actually, that seems like
I could
Elon
probably
would
tweet
just
at
do it.
Elon right now, and he'd probably say he'll do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna tweet at him.
Like, hey, when's SpaceX gonna get us zero G porn? All right, well, Chris, while you're doing that, let us mull over real quick. Well, first of all, he says someone has definitely tugged it up there, right? Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
If you don't think people are tugging it in the space station, what is one thing you know about human nature? You're lonely.
Those people fucked everything.
You're lonely in your space. First of all, I wouldn't be surprised. Someone's definitely done the deed up there. First of all, if you really want to get there, I was gonna say if you put a man and a woman up there, if you put two lonely enough dudes up there with questionable sexuality,
I don't even know if you have to say questionable. That's like years up there, bro. This is getting biblical in space.
And see, look, he says, what would be the benefits and drawbacks of orbital orgasm? You know, one of the things they talk about whenever you're up in space is like you lose bone density and stuff because like the gravity weight is different on there. I wonder if there's like something about orgasming that like moves your muscles enough in a way to like help slow that. So basically, the more you're busting in space, the slower the down, you know, the drawbacks of long-term space exposure become.
I feel like the problem is that you would probably come too fast, right?
That's actually, dude, like, so first of all, what happens when gravity's not in the picture? This is like a real thing. When gravity's not in the picture, what does that do to the force of your muscles? So like, think about like the vaginal canal is like a muscle that's like, you know, it's like flexing down on, and you're getting the resistance that makes that, you know, pleasure there. Is that weaker when gravity is weaker, or do your muscles, are they going to do their own thing anyway? Like, I know that whenever you're up there moving them, but like, what is the force of doing this with your arm in gravity and out of gravity? Is it stronger because there's less resistance of gravity on you, or what's happening? You know?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like if there's nothing pushing the cum down into your balls, once you start exerting the necessary pressure to release said cum, wouldn't it just instantly kind of be, it'd probably be the slowest orgasm of your life, right? Like you would feel that shit like every inch of the track that's going up.
You're still building pressure, right? Or is gravity fucking with the way that pressure builds?
I don't know. I'm not an astronaut, but I gotta think
it's a vacuum, right?
Yeah. So you're making my point. That shit is sucking the cum out of your dick.
So actually, is it one of the fastest? Is it you like? Wah!
That's what I'm saying. It would be too fast.
I don't know, man.
I'm gonna be real though. At the same time, like if I was getting head at the ISS looking out the window, dude, it would take me 30 seconds, if that. I don't even know if she'd have to put her mouth on it. It would be over.
You'd be like, the world is so beautiful. Ah!
It's like I can see all my exes from up here.
Stunting on them. Yeah. I feel like, look, let's be real. People oftentimes don't really want to talk about the fact that there are like legit benefits that your doctor will tell you about, like
space
orgasming.
Sex?
I mean, no, just orgasming.
Okay. Like,
I would not be surprised. Part of me wonders if there actually is, like, do they talk to the NASA people who are going up to the ISS, and do they actually, like, is there a doctor that's being like, hey, while you're up there, you need to like stimulate these organs? It would not surprise me at all if NASA has conversations with people like, hey, you need to stimulate yourself for these reasons because it's good for your mental health, it's good for every aspect of you. You know what I mean? Like, I think if I'm remembering right, like people who orgasm like 21 times a month are like a notable amount healther because of just the way your body does it.
There's an entire Wikipedia article about sex in space.
Yeah.
And the Wikipedia article treats it as if it's hypothetical and never happened. It's like, although it remains hypothetical, sex in space is the primary object of study of space sexology is a thing. What the fuck? All right, I have a rabbit hole to go down. So
now I want to know what would hypothetical mean. It's like really theoretical. Like it's really likely that it happened. It's hypothetical. Now I'm curious. It's and so
NASA has
real.
stated this is such a funny Wikipedia page. History of attempts. NASA has stated that it knows of no intercourse in space. Yeah, all right. Y'all got those videos. What are you talking about, bro?
Oh boy.
In June 2015, Pornhub announced its plans to make the first pornographic film in space. It launched a crowdfunding campaign to fund the effort, dubbed Sexploration, with the goal of raising $3.4 million in 60 days. Oh, this is brutal. The campaign only received pledges for $236,000. If funded, the film would have been slated for a 2016 release, following 6 months of training for the performers and a 6-person crew.
There you have it. So, Chris, I have one more question for you.
It would have been Coco Brown. She was becoming a certified astronaut to do a fucking porn scene.
Nice.
That would be... can I say something with all due respect to people in this world? That would be the craziest conversation to have with your parents or with anybody, really. Yeah, I was an AVN nominated porn star and an astronaut.
It's like respect, though, right?
I guess, yeah. It just seems like such a crazy like thing.
What a world you live in.
Like a switch up.
Bro, like, part of me wants to be like, how crazy would it be to like go and get a PhD and then throw it all away and become a porn star?
I don't know. Check OnlyFans. I'm positive that like fucking dinosaur chick who was like kind of hot until you took a good look. Like she was a PhD receiver, and I'm like, yeah, you study dinosaurs. They don't exist. I don't know what to tell you. You're not going to make much money off of that unless you're Sam Neill, who's an actor playing a paleontologist. Rest in peace.
So, Chris, we've talked about the likelihood that we both seem to believe that we can't be far from zero-G porn. Definitely if there's already been people talking about making it happen. On the flip side, do you remember the little submarine that went down and got crushed in?
Yeah.
How long
Titan.
Do you think ever, actually I'm going to say that, do you think there will ever come a day in which we will be able to have someone have sex at like the bottom of the Mariana Trench?
No.
Yeah, I don't. space travel seems infinitely more doable than deep sea travel. But here's what's interesting about that. I have that gut feeling while also knowing that we seem to be aware of the fact that there are creatures that exist that can withstand that pressure down there. So it shouldn't be crazy for us to think that we'd be able to find a way to replicate that to get it down there, like to get down there.
Yeah, that is the hubris of man, brother.
You're probably exactly right. And on that note, this has been an episode of Triangle Squared. We will see you next time. Thank you to our patrons who went over to patreon.com/Nartech. Give us a little as $1 per month. As a shout out to them, we call them out at the end of every single episode. So without further ado, shout out to The Boorish Boar, Grime Kid 1989, Father Damian Quigley, Ryan Goldner, Spencer, Brandon Edwards, Alex, Barry Rogers, Stingray X, Matt Tubbs, Sean Easton, Bailey Robertson, TT Dog 666, Kevin Bacon Bits, Danny Villobos, Jehudi MD, No Fate, Josh Ayers, Derek Porter, and Sean Santaroo. Thanks to each and every one of you, and we will see you next time.